How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Do you have to do that every time?
I think you already know the answer to that.
Anyways, I thought that I would take a break from the request videos and go ahead and review an obscure hero, but you can keep sending me in those requests. I do like filling out this request. The more obscure, the better. And keep in mind that we might review one of your heroes one of these days, but a chance to get him up here faster is to let me know that's one you want to see, and that requests always get moved to the top of my list, because I have my list, but I also have my request list. Also, if you like what I'm doing here and you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and hit that like button if you like the videos.
Tell them about the bell.
You can hit the bell icon to be notified when my newest videos drop. So, I did decide to pick up an obscure hero. I'm pretty sure nobody's heard this one. Maybe one or two of you might know him, but he's a very obscure hero from an obscure publication that only had 2 issues. Well, an obscure comic book that only had 2 issues. It's from Centaur, and Centaur has a lot of obscure heroes. They're the very definition of throwing mud against the wall and seeing how much of it would stick. That definition, it different people,
They know what you're trying to say.
different people go at it different ways, but it still means the same thing. They threw it against the wall to see if it would stick. Okay, so let's go ahead and review this obscure hero with some obscure powers. There's not too much to go in onto this. As far as I know, there was no leading stories after it. So I've covered both of the stories. So I don't know. It was kind of the first issue was ridiculous. The second issue had some intriguing elements that I would like to have seen them continue with, but they didn't, and we only got to 2. So let's go ahead and get into this one with the
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age. Let's get this one started. Okay, so he only had 2 appearances, so we'll just go ahead and cover both of these. They're not very long stories. Real name, Craig Carter, first appeared in Wham! Comics number 1 in 1940. The original publisher is Centaur, and there is nobody credited with the creation. So let's go ahead and get into the story. So, Wham! Comics number 1, Chris Carter is actually the featured cover in the featured story, which is kind of funny because in the second issue, he's the very last story. But it's an interesting cover right here. We see all the other people that are going to be in this, including someone called the Sparkler and his disappearing suit. If there's any, you guys can request anybody else you've seen right here. Okay, so Craig Carter and the Magic Ring. Right here we see him talking to, well, I guess it's his girlfriend, but I think they said fiance. I don't know. He's telling her that he wants to get a new line of work. And he says, now listen, don't listen to me. Anyone who would give up a career like yours just to become a detective or something. And we find out that he's an archaeologist and he's not happy with it and he wants to become a crime fighter, and he storms off. When he arrives at his own home, so he doesn't live with her, he sees a note. Dear Mr. Craig Carter, once you did me a very great service. I hope you will accept this ring in partial payment in your deed? That's what it looks like. It's a little bit difficult to read. It'll make you greater than any living mortal. Now, I had to read those last words twice because it was hard to read. Let's see. Say Albentoni. I'm not going to continue butchering that. That's the fella I saved in Egypt. Here's the telephone. So he picks up, and it's Nikki, and she says that her father has been hurt. And her father is a professor. The professor exclaimed how he was jumped by two gentlemen, and he's lying in the bed recuperating, and Craig doesn't know what he is going to do. So as he is home pondering how he is going to handle the situation, this magical ring, which he put on his finger and he forgot about, rubs up against his chin, and all of a sudden we find out that Zeus appears. Now, what I find a little strange about this is that he is an American wearing a ring given to him by an Egyptian that summoned gods from the pantheons of Norse, Greek, and Roman. No Egyptian gods, though. Maybe if it had gone on for more than 2 episodes, we would have found them too. So, yeah, that's kind of funny. Have no fear, friend. I am Zeus, king of the gods. You, my friend, are aware of the ring. So we find out that he can call on and have the service of the gods to him. So he says you're the god of... He tells Zeus that you're the god of wisdom. He's not the god of wisdom. He's the All-Father. So he finds out where the crooks are and gets on the Pegasus and confronts the crooks. He beats up one of the guys while he has Zeus handle the other guy. Let me go, you big goat. Quiet, grasshopper. I don't know why he would use the word grasshopper. Anyways, he confronts the man, says he wants the formula back, and the guy's like, all you have to do is ask for it. So he gets the formula, and he goes back and gives it to the professor. And then Nikki decides that she'd love to go out with Craig because, you know, the good deed that he just did, beating the bad guys. He says he wonders if he's going to tell her about the ring, and says that he'll tell her some other night. And why did they wear top hats back then? Okay, so he's got himself his suit and a top hat. I've never seen much of a need for those. So he picks her up, and she's in a stunning red dress, and as they're sitting at the restaurant talking, she rubs the ring, and it summons Zeus to come out. Now, apparently, even though she rubbed the ring, Craig is the wearer, so he keeps possession of the ring. So he commands Zeus to go away quickly because he doesn't want to cause a ruckus. Because, I mean, you can see how much everybody noticed he was there. He tries to get out of the restaurant quickly, and people are confronting them. And as they're in the car, they hear a news report. They just happen to have the exposition radio on. Flash, the city bank has just been robbed by crooks using a very powerful acid to open the vault. They would not make that part of the report. That would not be in the news story. And they would say that the bank was robbed. They wouldn't say how. God, that really is an exposition radio. So he says that he's going to go confront the crooks and sends her home in the car. I would love to drive that car. He calls forth the Pegasus again and gets to the crooks' hideout. And this time he uses Mercury, the god of speed, to assist him. I thought we were establishing a Greek theme here with Zeus, but we go to Roman. I mean, we couldn't have said Hermes. Mercury grabs a hold of Craig, and they rush into the hideout very quickly, missing a vat of acid. I guess it was a trap set for them. And he looks, and he saw how the ground was eaten away in no time by the acid. So he confronts the crooks. Good evening, gentlemen. Go get him. No sooner said than done. And quickly Mercury, because he is the god of speed, knocks out all the crooks. So Mercury knocks down all but one. You don't get me, wise guys. Now I'll get you. Another one. You must be the guys Harvey and Stefan spoke about. Mercury quickly grabs the gun from the guy before he can even blink and hands it to Craig. The crook tries to turn around and run, but he knocks over the chemical table, which drops a lot of the chemicals into the vat of acid and causes a huge explosion. I'm not even going to question that. Mercury moves so fast that he moves ahead of the explosion, faster than the explosion, and gets Craig to safety. So that's all there was to it, Nikki. Fighting crime will be easy. Well, maybe it will, Craig, but I hope you don't get hurt. And that's the end of the first story. So in the next issue, he is listed on the cover, but he is not the cover feature. In fact, he's the very last story. This one says Craig Carter by Robin, and they have this text box here. Craig Carter, successful young archaeologist, has been made a present of the ring. Was made a present of a ring by an Egyptian whose life he once saved. Craig accidentally discovered the ring has magical powers and that the power to call on any of the ancient gods or heroes, so that they must aid the wearer of the ring in anything he undertakes. That would have been a nice text box for the beginning of the first story. So we see these newspaper articles, and these two crooks are talking about how they need to gain control of the ring. They don't. It's like, I'm telling you, Henny, if we had the ring, we'd be set for life. Oh, no, not me. I don't want nothing to do with no gods. You don't have to go near. We don't have to go near this Chapel guy. He's got a girlfriend, and we just put the snatch on her, see? Yeah, but who's keeping him from sicking them gods on us? Wow. Okay. So the guy in the green suit makes a phone call, and then we see this guy who looks like a Hindi show up. Let's see. A short while later, I'm not going to butcher this guy's name. A Hindi. Okay, so he is a Hindi. He shows up, and while Craig goes to see his girl, he sees that the whole place has been trashed. He runs up the stairs, calling the names of Nikki and the professor. Hears thumping coming from the closet, opens it up, and the professor's all tied up. All tied up and no place to go. Okay, he asked what happened. He said there were 3 men. They called this afternoon. One was a Hindi. They said they wished to discuss some recent discoveries at Temple in India. And, okay, so he invited them over, and as soon as they were there, they rushed him. So Craig calls for Zeus. And Zeus says he cannot see because she is being made invisible. Let's see. That I cannot do, for a mantle of invisibility is over her. But I get a message for you. How did you receive this message? It says you must leave your ring in a deserted house on Sawmill Road if you want to see Nikki again. There seems to be nothing else I can do. So, you could put a fake ring in there and then get the drop on whoever is after you. Anyways, he decides that he's going to leave the ring, but before he does, he calls on Pluto. Okay, with this, you're just being stubborn. I mean, how many people even remember that Pluto is a god of mischief? You could have called on Loki or even Hades. I mean, you had Zeus and you call on Pluto. That's an obscure reference. I am Pluto, master of Hades, prince of black magic. And they did the paneling wrong again. Small to big, back to the small. No. When the 2 small panels are overlapping each other, those 2 panels go together to lead into the larger panel. Whatever, Centaur. Okay. So he has basically Pluto to get his back, and he goes out and waits outside of the house. Just as they're waiting, a car pulls up and the Hindi walks in. Now, Craig darts in from the back and he's going to confront the Hindi, and he leaps for the ring. Now, I can excuse the paneling here, but you had to draw arrows. You know what? I'm smart enough to know where the next panel is without needing arrows. Anyways, he leaps for the ring. The Hindi puts up a wall of fire, and then Pluto decides to confront the Hindi, and both of them are throwing magic at each other. The giant Hindi with lightning bolts in his hand. Let's see, Pluto with throwing bats, and Craig gets the ring back, and he makes his way outside while there seems to be a giant spider now joining the midst. He takes off out of the house, and the car speeds away, so he calls for Thor, and now we have Norris. This is actually a pretty decent representation of Thor. And Thor and his chariot with his 2 rams come down, and he hops on the chariot after the bad guys. And I don't remember Thor being in Centaur, but there he is. Now, while he speeds away towards the car, let's see, meanwhile, Pluto has won his battle with the Hindi. Haha, you see what happens when you battle Pluto? But now, shall I return to be locked up in the ring again? I've done my duty. No, sir. I'm going to have some fun for myself. So, are they prisoners of the ring? I just assumed that he would summon them from Asgard, but okay. Craig and Thor follow the bad guys, and after they go into the house, Thor bursts down the front door and throws his hammer into one of the guy's heads. So that guy is obviously dead. I mean, he's not a god. He just took a smack from Thor's hammer. And in the next panel, you see Thor putting the guy in green into the chair. But he's not messing with the guy in purple. So that guy is dead. Okay, so he rushes into the room and he sees that Nikki is hypnotized. And he's calling on Pluto to release the hypnotizing spell, I guess. Pluto could release her if he'd only come. I can't get Pluto. I'll have to try myself. If only I could remember what little I knew about hypnotism. Well, you're an archaeologist, so obviously you're schooled in the practices of hypnotism. It says a few hours, Craig works on Nikki, and then at last, she brings him out of the trance. And he says, Nikki, are you all right? Nikki, you're all right. You remember? Oh my God, you're all right. You remember? Okay. Nobody talks like that. She says she's all right, but she's wondering how she got there. And then Craig says, I'll tell you later. Thor, take these thugs back into the ring with you and see if they'll lead a better existence. So he takes the crooks captive. Oh, that's going to be fun. The 2 mortals get to deal with a whole bunch of gods inside of a imprisonment that seems to be encapsulated inside of a ring. So Craig tells Nikki the whole story and that he still doesn't know where Pluto is, and she says, oh, I'm sure he'll come back. And in the very last panel it says, but will he? And what mischief will he do first? Find out next month. The end. There's another classic telling that the story is going to continue in a comic book that only had 2 issues, so we don't know what happens, which might have been interesting, seeing him using the gods to try and put right Pluto's mischief to get him back into the ring. But that's it. That is the 2 issues. Centaur has a lot. a lot of heroes that have made very small amount of appearances, and this is one of them. So that does it for Craig and his magic ring. Well, I hope you liked this one. I hope you learned a little bit about... I don't know. He didn't go on much farther. There wasn't really much to learn about him. Okay, well, I hope you like the obscure heroes. I love reviewing heroes that no one's ever heard about. So, keep tuning in. I got an interesting one coming up in the next couple of videos. So, until then, I'll be seeing you.